We are all feeling the onset of a global economic crisis. Truth is that for many people it will not just be an economic crisis, but an economic collapse similar to what we are seeing right now in Lebanon or Turkey. Inflation and devaluation are two of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And let's face it, some people are actually getting richer during these economic downturns, and I'm not just talking about mafia members or politicians here. I will tell you who and how some people profit from Lebanon's economic turmoil. As America's and Europe's future may be Lebanon, the same mechanism to get rich may be useful to everyone. But please, allow me 50 seconds to explain the Lebanese situation so that you can better understand the underlying mechanism. The Lebanese crisis began in October 2019. Since then, the Lebanese pound has been devalued numerous times, losing more than 90% of its value. Before the crisis, the average worker's salary was around 1.5 million Lebanese pound, that was worth around $1,000, but it's now only worth $50. To make matters worse, there has been massive inflation of several 100% in parallel with the devaluation. Everything, literally everything, has gone up in price, including food, gas, fuel, medicines, clothing, and transportation. In Lebanon, people used to have easy access to two currencies, the Lebanese pound and the US dollar. You would think that people who had their life savings in dollars were safe from all of this devaluation craziness of the local currency, right? In theory, you are correct. Actually, for our American and European friends, if you are concerned about the dollars and euros devaluation, you could hold a foreign currency such as the Swiss franc. The Swiss franc is well managed in comparison to the euro and the dollar, or you could also have some gold. But here is something that most people overlook. Remember how devaluation and inflation are the two horsemen of the apocalypse? The third one that most people are unprepared for is bank freezes. People in Lebanon have barely been able to retrieve their life savings in dollars since the beginning of the crisis due to the bank freezes, up to the point where dollars on the bank accounts prior to October 2019 are totally frozen. Banksters only allowed us to retrieve those dollars if we agreed to accept them in Lebanese pound and at a much lower exchange rate than the real rate. It's called a haircut. It's just a polite way of saying that banks screwed you. That's how my $20,000 life savings became $2,000. Actually, a clever man, not a politician or a mafia member, discovered a way to recover his frozen dollars, but banks don't want you to do it, and you have to be the first to do it. So watch this video to learn the trick. So now here is the first group of people who have benefited from the crisis. It's quite obvious. It's the people who were wise enough to keep their life savings not just in the local currency, but as well in dollars, and who did not keep them all in the Lebanese banks. Even if you are European or American, you must diversify your banks by having them in different countries, and you should have some money stored at your place. I understand that this is easier said than done for the vast majority of people, or at least it was until recently. Crypto now allows anyone to easily obtain dollars. It's simple to buy stablecoins pegged to the dollar on cryptocurrency exchanges like Binance or FTX. These platforms could be considered foreign banks if you are unable to open a bank account abroad. With cryptocurrency, you can even store your stablecoin outside of platforms and directly hold them yourself in a ledger, for example. With this solution, you will never have to deal with a frozen account to prevent a bank run. But be careful, crypto can be risky and you must conduct your own due diligence. People whose dollars were not in Lebanese banks were able to access them because they were not frozen, and this simple fact can make you extremely wealthy. Let's start with a simple example. A shawarma menu used to cost 15,000 Lebanese pounds or $10. Now, due to inflation and devaluation, it costs around 100,000 Lebanese pounds, so around 7 times more for people who have only Lebanese pounds. However, in dollars, it cost 100,000 Lebanese pounds divided by 30,000 Lebanese pounds, where 30,000 is the current exchange rate, so around $3 only. So it now costs 3 times less for people who have dollars. And while this is just an example with a sandwich, the same logic applies to clothes, oil, rent, and so on. To put it another way, the purchasing power of people with non-frozen dollars has increased several fold. People who get paid in dollars because they work for a foreign company are obviously doing well. They can now afford items that they could not previously afford. Now, debt is another way to become wealthy. Seems weird, right? Well, Prior to the crisis, banks would make loans in Lebanese pound to help you start a business or buy a house. With the devaluation, people who had contracted loans with banks prior to the crisis now have to repay a loan that it's actually 90% less significant. To give you an example, in 2017, my cousin took out a 30-year loan in Lebanese pound to buy a house. He is required to repay 1 million Lebanese pound each month for the next 30 years. Prior to the crisis, it was worth around $600. And right now, he still has a loan for 25 years that he repays in Lebanese pound each month for the same amount of 1 million Lebanese pound, but this is only worth $30 per month right now. He is currently in talks with the bank to increase his monthly payment by 10 times, so to 10 million Lebanese pound or $300, which is about the half what he was paying in 2018, and thus reducing his 25-year credit to only 2.5 years. For the most daring Europeans watching this video, it may be worthwhile to make some loans in euros in case it ends up like the Lebanese pound. And it will. Now let's look at some other ways to get rich, but you would have to sacrifice a bit your morality. First, for example, you need to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, welcome. We are a community of realist investors who hope for the best while bracing for the worst. More seriously, in such an economic downturn, forming an NGO is a very simple way to get a lot of money. Many NGOs were formed in Lebanon in response to the crisis. They gathered large sums of money from Lebanese living abroad, as well as from kind people who simply wanted to help in order to assist those in need in Lebanon. During an economic collapse, on the other hand, you can be certain that no one is present to check and control the flow of money. Now guess where the money went? It's a common scam. The same thing happened in Haiti following the earthquake. If you want to donate money to an NGO, please only send it to well-known ones or directly to Lebanese people you trust. Of course, another easy way to get rich in such a situation is to be a member of the mafia or a politician, which are the same in Lebanon. People love to make fun of southern Italy, but Lebanon is far more entertaining in that regard. Do you remember what I just said about loans made before 2019 being worthless now? Of course, you can imagine that many politicians took out large loans in Lebanese pound in the years preceding the crisis. In the same way, I informed you about the frozen dollars. Of course, if you were a politician, your dollars would not be frozen because you would have moved them prior to the crisis. Don't worry, they won't be charged with insider trading. Even if you didn't move your dollar, with the right connections, it wouldn't be an issue, just like for the son of Lebanon's central bank chief. Finally, the last group of people who made the most money were merchants, traders, and suppliers. For example, merchants would absurdly raise their price of their products. If you were shopping around for the best price on a specific item, by the time you decided on one and went to buy it, the price had already changed. Furthermore, whenever the value of the Lebanese pound falls, they immediately raise their prices using the devaluation as an excuse. However, when the value of the Lebanese pound rises, the prices do not fall. You may have noticed it in your own country with the price of gasoline. Correlation with the crude oil price increases is always much faster than correlation with the crude oil price decreases. Supplier, traders, and merchants also created numerous shortages out of pure greed in order to profit from future price increases or Lebanese pound devaluation, up to the point of actually killing families as a consequences of their actions, as we have seen in Lebanon. Check out this video if you want to learn more about shortages and what you should buy to prepare yourself. By the way, do you have other plans to get rich in case your country goes into an economic collapse like Lebanon? Don't hesitate to let us know by leaving a comment. You can support us on Patreon, where we post some exclusive finance, crypto, and collapse contents. We stay in touch on Facebook and Instagram.